Hello, Professor. I'm happy that I am able to submit my lesson plan through video, considering the circumstances that we're going through with this whole coronavirus. I appreciate you understanding the circumstances as well and allowing me to kind of give you a preview of what I really was going to do during class, and that was going to be role play. My lesson plan is based on role play. So it was really hard for me to pretty much try to do everything with one person. I only have my sister that's able to help me because she's the only one that is in my house during this quarantine time. So I appreciate you understanding. But to get started, I want to go ahead and explain to you what I had done for my PowerPoint, which is an explanation of why we should do role play in the classroom. And by doing role play in the classroom, we're allowing students to visualize what they're reading about, which is very important, especially in a history class. I'm going to be a history teacher, and my lesson plan is based in U.S. history for a 9th grade class. It is important for students to visualize what they're learning or reading, because they're able to step, in this case history, they're able to step into historical figures' shoes and events that can be hard to relate to them because it's been so long ago. These events or historical events become more impactful to them because they are able to be part of a script or relate to it more when it comes to playing the role of a historical figure or event. I'm basing my lesson plan on TEKS 11341, 9C, and 9F. And that first one is identifying the role of significant leaders who supported various rights movements, including Martin Luther King Jr., Cesar Chavez, and Rosa Parks. Also, the other TEKS that I'm using is discuss the impact of the writings of Martin Luther King Jr., such as his I Have a Dream speech on the civil rights movement. So these are the two big ones that I'm going to be using during my lesson plan. Martin Luther King was very impactful during the civil rights movement. He was one of the biggest activists of that time and is still known as one of the biggest activists of civil rights, as well as Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. So I'm going to go ahead and start my lesson plan, and hopefully you're able to see a little bit of what I really wanted to do with the class if we were still going to class. So here we go. Alright, so please stand up. We are going to be learning a little bit about civil rights movement. I know that we have been learning a lot about it before, but today we're going to learn a little bit more of what we have been learning before, okay?
Alright.
So I know that you guys understand what a play and a script is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's characters in the script, there is scenes in the script. So scenes is like parts of each play, okay?
Yes.
So scenes, there's characters, and there's prompts. So we're able to use prompts if we want. In this case, we're not going to be using them, but prompts are something, for example, where if you're acting as a baseball player, you will have a baseball hat, a baseball ball, a baseball bat. So these are prompts. So now that you understand pretty much the lingo of what a play or script is, we're going to be doing a play and learning more, okay? So I know for homework, I gave you guys the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King, and I sent it to you guys through email, and I know you guys read it, right?
Yes.
I know you guys read it, so I want you to go ahead and pull it out from your phone, because I know I sent it electronically to you guys to read on your Schoology.
Alright.
And I want you to go ahead and skim through it again, because I know you read it before, but I want you to skim through it now that you know what it says. And I want you to pick a sentence or a phrase that impacted you and why, okay? So go ahead and do that. I'm going to give you about 2-3 minutes to do it.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me what sentence you picked or phrase that he said in the speech that impacted you and why, okay?
Alright.
So go ahead and do that. I'm going to let you kind of read it. I'm going to give you a minute or two. Okay. So I am gonna ask you now, what is that sentence or phrase that you picked that impacted you the most?
Alright, it's a part where it says, I have a dream that this nation will one day live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Equal. Yes. So we know that in the Constitution we say that all men are created equal, right? We all deserve liberty, life of pursuit, and all that good stuff, right? So we all have the same rights because we're all men, right? So why do you think that impacted you the most?
Because he didn't let other people, by telling them that he was colored, that he didn't deserve nothing, he didn't let that affect him.
Right.
But he believed that that didn't matter, that no matter how he looked or maybe how he speaked or anything, that he was different, that he deserved everything that every other single person deserved too.
Right, and I think that's what impacted me the most too, because it doesn't matter what color skin you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is your character, and I think that says it in his speech the whole way, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says that at the end. He's like, I have a dream that my sons and daughters will hold hands one day. They won't be judged by the content, or they won't be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, right? So we understand that he is fighting for the rights of this people, right? So now that you feel a little bit more aware of why he said that, we are going to learn a little bit more in depth of why he did it, right? So throughout his life, he was affected by discrimination, right? Yes. So one of the ways that they experienced discrimination during this time, it was that they were not allowed to go to the same school as white people. When there was a bus, in the case of Rosa Parks, we know that she was another activist, right?
Yes.
Black people had to sit in the back, right? African Americans had to sit in the back, and white people had to sit in the front.
Yeah.
So we can see, like, for example, Rosa Parks, who protested in silence. She didn't fight anybody, but she sat in the front of the bus and she was like, I refuse to move to the back of the bus, right? Mm-hmm. So we can see that. And also Cesar Chavez, he's another activist that fought for civil rights, for the laws of those who were farmers and Hispanics, right? So we can see these three activists fighting for the rights of people. And like you had said, we're fighting for the creed of the nation, right? That all men are created equal. Mm-hmm. So we can see how all of these activists, such as Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King, were great people who wanted to do a difference in the lives of many. Not just them, but of all African Americans, right? Mm-hmm. All Hispanics, all men, right? So now that we know more about what an activist was and who these people and what they fought for, which is the rights, right?
Yes.
The rights of all people. I think it's a little bit hard for us to understand it because we didn't live in that time, right? So we weren't forced to go to a different school because we were Hispanic, or we weren't forced to go to another school because we were black, or because we were Chinese. We were all integrated already in school when we started, right? When I was in kindergarten, I wasn't sitting in a different table because I was Hispanic, right? Mm-hmm. So we're all sitting together in one table, in one big classroom, in one big school. It doesn't matter, right? So it's kind of hard for us to understand what had happened, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a play. And this play is going to show us a little bit of the life of Martin Luther King. Because he was once a child. He grew up and then understood, but when he was a child, he didn't understand it just yet. Right. So, going back to Dr. Liebert, since I don't have a class, what I would have done is I would have set up the 6 tables that we have into 6 groups, and these 6 groups will each act out one scene. The script or the play has 7 scenes, but group 6 would have done 2 scenes because those 2 scenes are very short. So I would have them do 2 scenes for group 6, and the rest would only do 1 scene. Okay? So these scenes, so this play is based on, it's called I Have a Dream. And pretty much students would have been given the option to make props or simply just do it on their own, just use their body language, which would have been the case. And once they each received their scene that they would play, they were all, and a group will decide what characters they want it to be. Okay? So since we don't have the class, and in this case it's just me and my sister doing this, we're kind of just gonna give you a small summary of each scene. But I have attached my PDF for I Have a Dream speech to Blackboard, and I also have attached the script to Blackboard, so you're able to refer back to it if you need to. Okay, so I'm gonna continue with my little role play. Okay, so scene 1, right? I want you to kind of tell me a little bit of what it was. Okay, I'm gonna give you here the play because we're a green school, so we don't print papers, right? We all do by Schoology, we all do papers. So I'm gonna give you, and I want you to give me a brief summary of scene 1 and 2 and 3, okay?
Alrighty.
So go ahead and just give me a brief scene, okay?
Alright.
So scene 1, what can we tell? Because I know you're reading this. We've read this as a class already. So what does scene 1 say?
Alright. It just talks about how Martin, how he was a small kid, and he wasn't, he had to go through a lot of stuff while he was a children.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. In the first scene, you could also see where he's playing with his friends,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just going on with his thing, and he really doesn't know. And nothing's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's just him.
It's his
doing play.
friends are white, right?
Yes.
So he's playing with 2 friends. His name is Clark
And Wallace.
and Wallace. So they're playing and they don't see the difference in color just yet,
Yes.
right? But if we zoom into, I believe, what scene does it start saying that they just don't want to start playing with him? They don't want to play with him anymore?
That would be scene 4, and it's Martin Luther King goes to look for Wallace and Clark, but the mom ends up answering the phone. I mean the door.
The door.
Sorry. Yes, and then while Martin is trying to tell her that if they could come out, Miss Connor,
Mm-hmm.
she's telling him that they're sick. But the whole time Martin can see through the back, like, behind her, that the kids are there, and they're just like just trying to like pretend they're sick or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
So that's the first scene that he sees that there's like they just don't want to play, but he doesn't know why exactly, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna forward into the scene where he sees discrimination, right? And that's scene what?
That is scene. Sorry. Yes. Scene 3.
Okay.
And then he
So
experiences.
we're going back. So he knows he already experienced discrimination in scene 3 and 4, right? So
Yes.
Wallace and Clark doesn't want to.
Play with him.
They don't want to play with him, right?
Yeah,
and then
they're
he
not
realizes that they're lying because his mom. He can see Clark and Wallace in the background, right?
Yes.
So we know that they're lying for some reason. They don't want to play with him. Then on scene 4 or scene 5, his mom goes to the store and she experienced discrimination, right?
Yes.
And she's being told like
To go through the back door.
Yeah,
To go in.
to go through the back door to go in, or they ask for her payment
Before even.
beforehand, right?
Yes.
And they usually don't,
Mm-mm.
right? So they ask her, and what's that phrase that we see on that scene that we can tell that they're discriminating against her? It's your.
Let's see. You have to pay before I get it. Do you have your money? Come on, Miss Connor. Have I ever not had my money? We both know it's not about whether or not I can afford it. It's just that I can't trust your kind.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's your
Our
time,
yeah.
right? So we know that she doesn't mean like, oh, because you're a woman or because you are poor. When she said your kind, we know she meant that she was
Black,
African American,
yeah.
she was black, right? She was colored,
Yeah.
right? And Martin hadn't experienced that before until that, right? So he started realizing like, oh, like she's treating us differently because we're darker than her. She's white, we're black, right?
Yeah.
So we forward almost into the end because he continues to experience discrimination throughout the years, and he finally realized that Clark and Wallace didn't want to play with him because his mom told him, if you play with us, you're gonna get punished because he's black, right?
Yeah.
So let's forward into because the play goes into that he's a young kid, he's barely experiencing discrimination, and then on the last 2 scenes, he's already an adult, right?
Yes.
He's already an activist. He's already saying, hey, like, we deserve our rights too. We want that too, right? So go ahead and read the last scene, right? And he's already an adult Martin.
All right.
And I want you to act it out like you're him, because I know that it's the narrator and you, right? So I can be the narrator if you want.
All right.
And then I'm going to give it to you and you can do the other part, okay?
Okay.
So the narrator says, over the years, Martin would be arrested many times for standing up for himself. He would be beaten, stabbed, and spit on. Adult Martin.
I have a dream that this nation will one day live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Yet through it all, Martin would follow his father's advice to strive for peace and harmony among all people. That's why we celebrate his birthday each January.
It says when we allow freedom to ring, when we allow freedom to ring, we will be able to speed up that day. We all of God's children will be able to join hands and sing, free at last, great God Almighty, we're free at last.
Yes, so we can see that you can keep your side and stuff. We can see that throughout the play that Martin doesn't know about discrimination, then grows up, and while he's growing up, he experiences discrimination. He sees discrimination, and he decides to say, "Hey, I don't want this for my people. We deserve more. We are humans too, right?" So we can see throughout the play how he grows up to realize that we all are the same, right? So now that you've played Martin Luther King, right? It is hard to understand, like we had said, what they had to go through because we were not there, right? So now, after you've done the play and played Martin and seen what he has done, how do you feel about stepping into his character? How do you feel?
I feel like he felt discriminated. He felt really hurt. But he felt that he couldn't just sit down, be another person, or somebody that just sits down and does nothing about the situation. So he wanted to be that one person that stands up for what he believed and for what was right.
Right. And how can you relate discrimination in today's world? Can you relate it to now?
Yes.
Okay, how do you think you can relate this to now?
I feel like even though that was like a while back, I feel that discrimination still is in today's society, and whether it doesn't matter, even whether your skin color, whether your height or anything,
like racial poor.
Yeah. I feel like people, and maybe what you said, that it's not that we don't go to the same school, because now we all do go to the same school, but I feel like some children, some parents still feel that same way, like how Mrs. Connor felt, and they still try to teach their children to not
hang out with somebody else,
with a certain person. And I feel like that's still what society is. Like what some people do in society now. And I feel like that really has never gone away, and it's still here.
Yeah.
So
even though we were not in the time where we were segregated, right?
Right. Yeah.
We can still experience discrimination in different ways, even though it was not that much, right? So do you think this play helped you understand more of what it was?
Yes, it did.
Yes. All right. So that's the whole point of what role play is, right? So thank you, Ashley. So I hope this explains a little bit of what I was gonna do. I know it ran a little bit longer than I thought, but it's because, like, it's just hard for me to be able to do everything by myself and explain everything. But I hope that this carries everything that I needed to do, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you.